6 minutes past 7 o'clock. A very good morning to you. How are you doing? My name is Mungala Mbuvi, and in studio we do have Siti Muga, and also our guest has joined us. That is Michael Kuria, Operations and Networking Officer at Vocal Africa. Michael, a very good morning to you, and welcome to Radio Generation.
A very good morning to you too, and Siti. And I'm happy to be here. I'm very honored, especially when we get to speak about justice and the happenings of this country.
Definitely. Maybe you can just let us know, for those who are hearing about Vocal Africa for the first time, who are you and what do you do?
Well, Vocal Africa is a human rights organization based in Kenya, but our works across Africa. We have operations in Nigeria and Uganda and Tanzania, with plans to expand. But since we are located here in Kenya for now, this is where we have mostly concentrated our efforts.
Okay.
Yes, and ours is about justice from 0 to 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the recent activities that Vocal Africa have been involved in?
Well, if you've been following the news, over the weekend, you've seen our CEO in Kilifi following up on the phase 2 of Shakahola.
Right.
Right before then, we were on the streets, demanding justice for all those young people that were killed during the demonstrations that we've had since 2024, up to the recent one on the 7th of July 2025. And we are usually, on a normal day, in and out of court. And we also do a lot of rapid responses. So whenever there are violations, our teams will be on the ground. Even today, I know there are some of our people, I think in Western, following up on a few cases.
Okay.
So that's technically what we do, but majorly ours is to call out against human rights violations and document them and help the relevant authorities to prosecute them. Yes.
So basically you deal with missing persons.
Missing persons, among other people that their rights have been violated. It's not limited to just missing people.
Yeah.
But we are very, very loud on enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings. Yes.
Some of these cases that you have dealt with, obviously very close to the hearts of many Kenyans. Where do you even begin when you hear, for example, God forbid, Mungala Mbuvi has disappeared? Where do you even start?
Well, I think we have a CEO who has had a lot of networking in this field for over 15 years, and of course, when you work in human rights, we work with partners. We have people in almost every other place in this country and outside the country. So ours is to get a report of the violation, and then our teams, the ones I've told you, are called the Rapid Response Team, will be dispatched immediately, and they'll get to the ground, they'll collect information, verify, and then from there communicate with the relevant departments within the organizations.
Yeah.
That then will take up the cases up to the farthest we can do to get justice.
Yeah, this is now the court.
Yes, the court.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I look at some of these cases where people either end up dead or some of them have never even been found kabisa completely.
Sadly.
Like kuna mtu hata tujuangi kama bado yuko. I don't know if you remember a journalist called Bogonko. Was it Bosiri Bogonko? Anyway, but that gentleman disappeared a couple of years ago, over 10 years ago. And no one seems to know where he went. But he was a blogger online, and he used to be very critical of personalities at the time. And of course, sana walikuanga politicians.
Yeah.
And he used to call them out. And then that guy just one day woke up, people woke up, and we could no longer read his blogs. And so in such a case, I mean, what happens if you never ever find this person? Do you close the case, or you just keep it open, leave it open until God knows when?
The only way you can close a case is when justice has been served.
Okay.
But otherwise, people have been disappeared. I don't know if you remember, towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, there was this group of young men from Lolongo. They're called Mlolongo 5.
Yeah. Was it Mlolongo 5 or 4?
Well, people say 4, but they were actually 5. It's just that they were picked on different dates.
Okay.
So I think when the coverage was happening,
there was a 4, and then now there was a 1 who was separate.
Yes, there was another one.
But was the case connected?
Well, yes, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Picked in the same locality, they were friends, they were doing the same line of business. I mean, well, you can say it's a connected case. So it's not a surprise anymore for us in this country that people can disappear. People can just walk away. You remember we were just solving the recent case of this blogger, where even the deputy IG was, vindicated. And
Albert
Ojwang.
Okay.
And it's by luck that people got to know that he was killed in a police cell. You remember the police themselves had said that he committed suicide.
Yeah, they said that he had banged. That was the initial report.
Yes.
Banged his own head against the wall
until he died. So you see, people
it's
disappear.
Absurd, yeah,
it's absurd.
You think it's absurd? When a certain gentleman who had been the foreign minister for Kenya, a gentleman called Dr. Robert Ouko, died. The saga surrounding his death and the explanation were extremely bizarre. Because apparently there was a scene where he jumped from a helicopter. There was a scene and there was demonstration that his body had been burnt. Then the autopsy indicated that he had also been shot. So now, how do you piece these things together? So what led to his death?
Which came first?
Yes. Did he shoot himself and then throw himself into the fire, then board a helicopter and then jump down? Or did he board the helicopter?
When he was on the helicopter, he set himself on fire.
Or he set himself on fire as he boarded the
He
helicopter.
was shot and then fell.
No, so it was complicated.
Or he fell into a fire after being
There was a guy
shot.
called J.M. Karaoke. J.M. Karaoke, when it was said J.M. Karaoke had been killed, the then president, Moi, had been vice president.
Yes.
And minister for home affairs.
Okay.
That fell under his docket. We're told, first of all, the guy had gone to Zambia. Then he hadn't gone to Zambia, but there's indication that he had gone to Zambia to do some business. Then he came back. Then his body was found in Ngong Forest, and apparently some hyenas had eaten him. Then there was a bullet wound. I mean, so piecing these things together. There was a commission called the Mwangale Commission that was set up to investigate this thing. It investigated and even produced results. Zip. Whatever it wrote. So, explaining how people have died, you are told somebody entered the cell. When you enter a cell, you remove your shoes.
Yes.
Your belongings are kept somewhere so you can pick them up. The person hanged himself. What did he use to hang himself? Was he alone in this cell? Were there other people? These stories, there are usually more questions than there are answers. But because of the silence and because something else happens, soon it is forgotten and we supposedly move on until another tragedy occurs, then we focus on that tragedy.
And that's a problem that we have, especially in human rights. People are killed. You remember in 2024 there were over 82 killed during the demos, and many disappeared. And then we go to 2025, June 25th, a few, we got to Sabasaba, people were killed, and now all of a sudden there is talk of compensation. And if you ask many people, even in many radio stations, people do not even talk about these cases anymore. People are current. You cannot be current with human rights violations. You have to follow up, and that's why I'm telling you, it's a difficult job, and you cannot just close a case because you have not been able to proceed further. So these cases will remain open. Investigations are still ongoing. But then there's a challenge in the country because these investigative, agencies tend to lag. And it's because sometimes we feel it's because they have noticed that much delayed. So I would say, yes, we've seen successes in different cases. And success for us can be different.
Okay.
Sometimes we can go to Maua, watu wameuliwa Sabasaba, and then the hospitals there do not to conduct the autopsies. Pathologists anasema mimi sijui niko busy, sijui niko wapi. Some even want to ask for, pesa. You're being paid. Come do your job.
Are we talking about now the government pathologists or private ones?
For these cases where police have been involved in a shooting, it has to be a government pathologist.
Okay.
So when I talk about the pathologists, sometimes, and not many of them, a few of them, because many of them are very, compliant and they really help. Some even work extra hours. But there are always a few rotten apples. Mtu ako busy, labda ako side hustle, ako a private autopsy mahali, anaona hiyo yenyu mnakuja kuniwestia time, sitapata hii pesa, nitakupata saa hizi. And then you see that by itself is an injustice to the family. People are grieving, people want to bury tomorrow. You're supposed to conduct that autopsy to this what people can, but you're busy somewhere doing a private autopsy. You don't want to show up. So for us, even getting to the field and making that noise and calling the people that we can call and having that pathologist come and perform, the autopsy itself is a win for us. It's the first step of justice. At least we can be able to document and witness the autopsy.
Actually, it's actually bigger than you think. Because if you look at this history that I spoke of, the root of this thing, when you've moved from the point where no questions are asked or allowed to be asked, or you're intimidated to the point where you dare not ask, to the point where it is now common for people to ask. It's common. What happened to so-and-so? Where did they go? It means you are actually witnessing changes. And that is where this constitution that we often speak ill of comes in very handy. Because it's clear. It gives you a backbone. Not a background, a backbone from which to actually function. Remember, historically, when something has been with you for a long time, it becomes cultural now.
Yes.
It becomes the norm. Okay? Because it's established. But you will find that even within the so-called police service, not the people who perpetrate these ills are a very small number. It's not the vast majority. When you have Mandamana and you have people who are supposed to control crowds, if you look at the number of police and they're all armed, if even 5 of them shot at people, you'd be shocked at how many people would die.
Yes, be catastrophic.
Yes. So it is usually just 1 or 2 at the very most of these individuals who have been tasked with this. Now, these people are sent. Remember, when you are given a certain task or you belong to a certain unit, the training requires that you have a certain aptitude and a certain psychological fit. If you don't have it, you can't fit into such a unit, because the things that you are required to do require you to be of a certain frame of mind. And so it's not a mass recruitment of people. There is no state on this planet that doesn't have individuals who are used to do these sort of things. Our problem is when these things are used on your own citizens. And you wonder, what is the threat? But the other thing that is often not understood is you're looking at the political interests. But in this country, political interests are very closely tied to economic interests. So when you seem to be questioning some political interests, you are actually threatening some economic interests of someone. And so the backlash is, you wonder, but this thing, why is there such a strong backlash against it? It's because you're touching something that somebody considers to be very, very important. Then you look at the progression of it, where over time, instead of just silencing, intimidating people and having a compliant judiciary, a compliant police force, we make it independent. The Constitution made it possible. But then you introduce something else, labeling it, and you then find that individuals prepare a certain path that makes it possible for them to do what they do. The moment someone is labeled a terrorist, now you stop being a human being. You are this thing that causes terror. You just happen to walk in the shape of a human being. And then laws which are unclear, the Constitution also sorts that out. In the earlier times when I was a young man and I mentioned to you, there was a word they used to use, sedition, haki. They just needed to say that they found you seditious literature, haki, you're going down.
Nothing you can do.
You're going, said this thing was published, that's all that was required. Now, the word terrorist follows that same thread where a labeling is found and it is young men. And then you profile. For the longest time, when you talk of Al-Shabaab, you're talking about somebody who looks like a Somali. Okay? Then it became young men from what you call economically disadvantaged areas. Then you suddenly find some of them came from Meru, some came from Western Kenya, meaning suddenly they are all manner of people who could be labeled as terrorists. But the moment someone is labeled as a terrorist, nobody looks too closely as to what happens to you, because it is already considered that you are somebody who is a very big threat to the nation.
Yes.
Now, what am I saying? I'm saying when you look at how all these things are organized, that your organization is where it is, and that people pay attention to you. It's inadvertent, but when people pay attention to the point where you're being threatened, it means you're on the right track. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother with you.
Yes.
But I want to add a rider. One of the things about the police service that sometimes we are not told, they may target individuals, and we are also informed that this individual is merely a blogger. Like this gentleman who was killed in the police cells.
Albert Ojwang.
Albert Ojwang was a blogger. He was a teacher. We know about him. But not everybody is just a blogger and a teacher.
Yes. Yes.
There are individuals who are more than that, but we are never really told what it is that they do. So we assume they're just bloggers or teachers or whatever it is that they do. The unfortunate thing about something like a police service or the intelligence gathering arm of it, which we now call NIS, there are very many things they do which they cannot tell you. The nature of their business, they cannot tell you. Like, the police will not report the number of foiled attempts they have made at terrorism attacks. They will not inform you about every detail. They'll inform you about one or two. But there are very many other things that they do. Now, unfortunately, when you have a culture of suspicion, which accompanies this culture of impunity, it doesn't matter what you do. We take the worst possible case scenario, and that's what we believe.
Yes, and unless you can come out and tell us, there were stories about Ojwang. He was being paid by, I don't know, a politician X, by politician. We don't care about that. You should have taken that to court, and then that should have come out in court. We would have known.
Yes.
And then probably our feelings would have been on your side, but Ojwang would be alive. So for us, we do not care what someone has done. But then you cannot just execute people. You cannot just disappear people.
No, you can't.
To come and then justify that, you guys did not even know that this guy was receiving money from this guy. These guys were conducting illegal business. These people were a threat to the community. Why did you go to the courts? The courts are there for a reason. Let's meet them in court. In fact, if they are a danger to our society, we'll even be in that court supporting you against them. But when you kill them, surely we cannot be on your side.
You don't have to ask this question. Because we then blame the entire police service. Anytime there's a death, there's a question I asked myself: who benefits from this person's death? That's a question I ask. It's a simple enough question. Who benefits?
Someone once told me that if you're a noisemaker, the Albert Ojwang kind of noisemaker, whereby every time you're posting stuff about some powerful individual, and they of course by the time you're posting those things zinasumbua that particular influential person, of course that means there's truth to what you're saying. So two things will happen. So he will either, or she or he will either come to you and offer you a bribe, zile za Michael, fanya hivi, shike 20 million na nisikuona ukiandika story zangu tena Twitter. And if you refuse that 20M, then there is only one way.
You go to the next step.
Yes, because I've tried silencing you. I have tried being, cordial with you. I've offered you this. I've even asked you, what do you want then? You don't want 20 million. What do you want? Then Michael, you're like, pana, mimi staki. Lazima watu wajue ni mtu wa ina niseme, sawa. Lazima wajue. Sawa. So, I don't know how true that is.
I think there's truth to it, because there's no way to organize kuwa mtu, and especially disappearing someone or killing someone. There are resources put into it. No one would put resources into something they're not benefiting from. Even yourself, kifungua biashara, you put money because at the end of the day I'll get this from this business. So that is true. There's someone benefiting, and for us is yes, justice should happen, and the way that justice will happen is for that person that was to benefit from your death, or that has benefited from your death, to be held accountable. But then, you see, these are people who are also very influential, especially when it comes to these cases of disappearances, killings. Because even sometimes when you look at a case, you hear from people. There are stories we get to hear from the people on the ground. And when you listen to them, there are stories that you cannot verify, of course.
Yeah.
But when you listen to them, those people have no reason to lie to you. And the things they tell you, you realize that this was a very big operation.
You think twice.
Yes, it was a big operation. Someone has been supporting it, and someone really wanted this person gone.
Pesa imemwagwa.
Kwa watu wengi tena sana.
Actually, with this Albert Ojwang story, there is another conspiracy. Again, I'll call it conspiracy because there's no way of verifying it. So the story again around Albert's death is that, and I'll go back to the question that City has asked: who was to benefit from his death? Now, there's some succession politics going on as far as the police industry is concerned, the police service is concerned. And if I think if CT is to retire and one of us is to succeed him, and I want it to be me, I'll find a way to make sure that you don't get to that particular position.
You'll dirty me.
So what will I do? Wewe umeketi kwa ofisi yako, hata una story, hata ujui nini linafanyika, okay? Kidogo kidogo inasemekana, Michael Kuria has orchestrated the death of someone, and you're like, how, when? Me, I don't even know that guy you guys are talking about. Yeah, or you know him because you probably have a court case with him or her in the courts, and now someone has taken advantage, and that someone is me. I have taken advantage of that situation to ensure that I do what? Nikate your link to the top. Again, that is just another story, a theory that is out there that is being floated.
Yes, and nilikuwa nasema, you see, hizi story tunasikianga nyingi, we should not just dismiss them. Some might be false, some might be true, but then we need to verify each and every story we hear, because if we do not, that is how these people will get through the holes. And for us, we don't care who's framing, who has done what. We care that their life has been lost, and someone has to take responsibility for that life.
But is that person is it going to be the right person to take the fall?
For example, let's say Ojwang was killed because person X was trying to do that to person Y.
Yeah. But
person X initiated the death of Ojwang. Person X must be held accountable. We do not care about your intentions.
Yeah.
All we care is about justice. The same thing I was saying. We are talking about compensating these people. We are telling them so that they can calm down. And I really hope this compensation that is going to happen. Because up to now, there are still people who have not been compensated for their lands since Mau Mau. And we are talking about compensation right now. And then compensation, how does it look like? If we just come and pay parents, I killed your child and I've paid you, and no one has been prosecuted, then that is giving the government license to kill and pay. That's blood money.
How much is the life of a person?
How much exactly?
Because I'd like to know, for instance, Albert, the family deserve compensation, but how much do we quantify the life of Albert? Are we going to say that tutasomesha mtoto wake mpaka university, tutafutia bibi yake kazi ndiye hata yaweze kufeed familia yake? Haya, wazazi wa Albert, babake alisema Albert was literally the only child.
Actually, we have precedents.
Yeah.
In the Moi era, there were very many people who were jailed for political activities, and many were compensated. They were actually paid, they even received money. I know of somebody who was a year behind me in college who was jailed and he received money. I know one. I have heard of other people who received money.
Yeah.
So it isn't as though people who were wrongfully jailed suffered under those systems. It's not as though they have not been paid. But these are people who went to court. Now, if the government comes up with a scheme where they want to pay, it raises, well, in a sense, you say you've acknowledged that there's a problem that needs to be solved. We understand that. But it raises more questions. And why I'm saying it raises more questions is this. If you look at the complaint that the judiciary has, is that it's underfunded. When we had the promulgation and the actualization of the Constitution in 2013, William Tunga's reign was extremely well funded. That was in the Kibaki era. It was very well funded. That's why there were very many things that happened in the judiciary. More people were employed, more judges were employed, they expanded the judicial service, they put up systems, they put up buildings. The judiciary and the services extended to every part of the country. So if you were in Mandera, you did not need to come to Meru. You had a high court there. What am I trying to say? If you look at IPOA, which is supposed to actually superintend the police services activities, the one thing they complain about, they're underfunded. So there are those who would argue, if you're given towards conspiracy and the theories that come along with it, that this is how the government frustrates real efforts. But I like to look at things this way. We actually have IPOA. It exists. That is a good thing. In the absence of IPOA, there are things we've heard about the police service and action that has been taken that we would never know.
Yes.
The independence of the judiciary, it is fought. That is also a good thing. It means the independence threatens some people.
Yes.
And you will find that the individuals in the judiciary who have been known to be very independent-minded, acting against the interests of what you'd call state interest. In the absence of a supporting constitution that gives them that independence, we would not see these things. Bringing it home, the discussion that we are having right now would not be possible if we had, because the time when I was your age, Haki, you talk, and as you walk out,
actually, I think in the middle of the
conversation,
someone will knock.
Somebody will knock and offer you a scholarship
in a hidden university.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing we have these institutions, and as it is saying, the existence of the complaints in IPOA, wako underfunded, judiciary, tunakuwa frustrated, hamtupei pesa. I mean, it exists in the first place. That's a good thing. At least tuko na some few cases we can say are in court. Rex Masai, Kirato Evans, and kuna Brian Odhiambo. Kuna inquests zinaendelea.
Yes.
Something is being done. We should be appreciative of that. But then the constitution then says it's not a favor. This thing should be happening. Unaget. So yes, at one point we are happy. The institutions are there, but on the other side we are also discouraged by the fact that sometimes they are there and they are infiltrated by the dark government, government, the cabals, the deep state.
Yeah.
What they are making sure it doesn't work as it's supposed to do, and that is what we should be fighting for. The systematic, injustices that are also happening in those institutions. Those people are also frustrated. Sometimes you talk with some of them, and they'll tell you their stories, and you realize it's a hard job you are doing, but my guy, you need to do your job. I'll do mine. I'll press you until your job is done.
I'm sure if you were to ask some of these folks that if they were to be found guilty, or the ones who are actually perpetrating these particular crimes, I'm sure if you were to ask them, they'll tell you they are the utmost patriots of this country.
Yes.
And they'll tell you, look, the reason I am doing this is because, Michael is trying to destabilize this country. Michael is trying to do this and this and that. And Michael, on the other hand, is like, me, I'm just fighting for truth and justice. See stories in accountability, the fighting of corruption and impunity and all that. Yeah. And each one of them, if you were to actually talk to the children of these people who are committing these crimes, they'll tell you that my mom, my dad is a hero.
It's a hero.
Budangu ndio ameshikilia country, bila budangu nyinyi amko.
And that's why we are saying, if right here we got into a fight, and one of us is deceased, mwenye ameua atakuwa tu roho yake anasema mimi kama singemuua ngeniua, ingekuwa ni self defense, ingekuwa. And that's why all these stories zote, we want to see them in front of a judge. Let a judge decide what really happened, what should have happened, because now we cannot say that for example there was a conspiracy, let me call it that, for them Mlolongo 4. They were in business, it was a wrong business deal. I don't know sijui nani alioshwa, nani akaosha mwingine. All that doesn't matter. All that matters is that people were abducted. 2 up to this day have not been found, and the 2 that we have found, the pathologist alisema hawa watu walipigwa. Even the pathologist was shocked. Alisema hawa watu before wakufe ile vitu wameonwa, walipigwa sana. You see, us, we don't care who was conned. Any story that whatever really happened between those guys could have been solved in a court of law. No matter the justification, the intelligence services will have their reasons to abduct you.
But let me ask you something. If we are doing a deal, it's a corrupt deal, and we were supposed to steal, say, 1 billion Kenya shillings from Shah, and to maybe a person who can yosha, which court of law will I take you?
You see, that's the problem. You should not have participated in the corruption in the first place.
But you get my point.
But I get your point.
Yeah.
You see, that
which court of law, which judge will I go and stand before and say, Michael and I stole 1 billion. Michael took the entire 1 billion. He didn't give me my cut.
But also, I'm not a lawman, but I would assume if we do a deal like that, and unioshe, I believe with the judiciary, with the lawyers, there's a deal that can be made. A deal can always be made.
Out of court.
Yes.
Out of
you know,
court
I can decide, since we're student together and you don't want me to give me my share, let's all lose it. I go to court to tell them we did this. I'm asking for leniency, but these guys the money.
But Michael.
But is that what really happens normally?
But do you think Michael will let me get to the court? Because before I go to the court, chances are threatening you. Mwambia Michael nipatie do yangu ama mimi niende kotini. Budo utashikwa. Uniambie mbuvi siuende, unajua nanga wewe siuende.
That's why integrity should be there in the first place.
You know, you're right, and one wishes that was the case, but you are already acting outside the law.
Yes.
Yeah, both of you.
What you've done is already illegal.
Yes.
But even within that ecosystem, the laws of that illegality or that ecosystem, they exist.
They exist, and their consequences are very real.
That's why you are told there's even honor among thieves. You know what you've done. It is unwritten, but it is understood that when this has been done, this is what you do. It is also understood, if you don't do what we had agreed on, this is also what happens. It is understood. And usually, the guarantee for it being done is your life. It's not anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
People get shot mysteriously. Somebody was in their car. Somebody was taking their child to school. Somebody was driving and there are 5 people in the car. It is this person only who is shot.
At a traffic stop.
Yes, nobody else. And they're shot, not at they were taken to hospital and died at the hospital, you are dead right there. So you first of all ask, what sort of expertise that these people have? Some even shoot you in a moving car. This country is full of many, many such stories, of things that you're not certain about. Now, you look at the judicial system, and we have this tendency of comparing it with where we borrowed this thing from America. And they say the freedoms that they have. All men are created equal under God. You talk about the Declaration of Independence 1776 and everything that followed. These are people who are now declaring independence against the mother
British.
country. Yes, 13 colonies. 56 people came for this particular continental meeting. What happened also, and what is not stated clearly, all these people who wrote this, Thomas Jefferson and the like, one, they were landowners, they were slave owners, and they were people of means. So when they wrote all men were created equal under the eyes of God, do you think they included the slaves?
They meant themselves.
Men like them.
Men like them. Okay? Now, what they wrote, remember these people were declaring independence. It must be understood. People talk about that first portion of it. But the second portion, which is not spoken of, also speaks of what you do when the constitution is not followed to the letter. The citizens then have the means and have the permission, according to the constitution, to take over power by force.
Yes.
And that's why in America they are allowed to own guns.
And that is the reason why they were fighting. The fight for independence, that's what it was about. It was force. We want independence and we are going to fight you to get that independence.
It's as simple as that.
As we have independence, we already have it. That moment that they had us, we had it. And we have this constitution. And we have a need to have the people we elect to understand that they work for us. We are not their subjects. They're not feudal lords. And we are serfs working under their tutelage. No. We are the ones who have given them the job. That's our constitution. Is it possible for our citizenry to actually understand the power that the constitution gives them, and then the responsibility which goes with that power, part of which is the need to hold the leaders to account? Do we? No, not do we understand it, we do. Are we willing to embrace it? Because to embrace it, it comes with a cost.
You know, when and that's why for now we have a program that we are working on, especially on civic education. When you walk outside there, you realize a lot of people seem informed, but a lot of people are very uninformed. People do not know what they can do. That's why today we have Duale in office speaking to us the way he wants, answering to akijibu maswali na nataka na pesa imepotea, akiambia journalist mfungue hospitali ndani huko kwenyu kwa hiyo organization yenu tutakuja kwa license. How do you tell your employer that? I mean, people seem to know what they what they're supposed to do, but people don't know. And that's why civic education is very important.
But let's not forget that he's the same guy who once told another guy, "Hey, pesa shema mako."
Exactly. you see for them.
So don't be shocked.
You see for these guys, I think even for them, for the elected officials, I think we also need to teach them that they work for us. I think some of them genuinely do not know. They think they're the bosses.
Mark, let me explain something to you. This is my view, and I tell my brother every morning, we're all villagers, and we think like villagers. We may think we're in the 21st century. We have a tendency to like the idea of those who are errant, who don't please us, teaching them a lesson. Now, when people are in power, the manifestation of the shika adabu is what leads to death.
Yeah.
Somebody says something you don't like, and you say, no, where. There are communities where walking with a punk and cutting somebody up is not really considered a big issue. It is called conflict resolution. Okay? Now, when I say we are villagers, look at the way each of us, given our backgrounds, what we think is a method of justice, what we use to correct wrong.
Yes.
And look at it in our language. You're in Takutandika. That now is conflict resolution. Yes. You are actually declaring war to create peace. How is that going to happen? How are you going to create peace? Usinichezee mazemini kufanya mambo. Surely. Where?
Wanasemanga amani huja kwa ncha ya upanga.
I mean, as I was saying, we really need to, but we're also happy that civic education seems to be, getting to a lot of people. Yeah. I think it's also with the new generation that is now starting to understand.
This one I need to hear from you. So your generation don't threaten each other about how I'm going to give you a sound beating. Where? Don't joke with me.
As you said, you're villagers. Generation X or Generation Z. It's just ni lugha tu tofauti, but the message is the same.
Why? Why do we think that whenever somebody displeases you, you must approach that issue with a threat of violence? Why?
I think it's the gorilla in us.
Do you agree with this man?
It's the gorilla in every single human being.
It's the original human nature.
Exactly.
That's the excuse,
bro. If we actually go back and look at human history, from our inception before we became Homo sapiens, that's the only language we understood.
That evolutionary process you speak of doesn't exist. We speak about evolving and human nature. You think it actually changes? It is muted. It doesn't really change.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why I said it's the gorilla in us. It's still there. It's hidden.
Why are you giving this particular primate a bad name and comparing it with this bad-mannered human being?
Because gorillas are brutal.
No, they go about their business. When they're threatened is when they're brutal.
Yes, they do their things unless threatened. I think, you see, if we start talking about why is this happening, everyone will have their reason. For sure. Mimi babu yangu alikuwa mtu wa mshipa moja. Kuna hizo vitu. Mimi babu yangu alisema tusiambiwa wangu hivi. Everyone have their reason. And that's why we need to follow the law, because at least it brings everyone.
In your community, don't hear people saying, mimi ni mwanaume huwezi kuni.
Exactly.
Sisi kama Wakamba tuambiangi kitu.
Wachezagi na sisi. I mean, okay. But that is the mindset we go into. Then we wear this cloak of civility. You put on a suit and now you talk.
And that is why Michael is saying, at the end of the day, the law makes us equal.
It's supposed to make us equal,
yes,
but only if we want and we allow it to.
Yeah.
We fight the law ourselves. The reason why we have corruption the way we have impunity, that is a manifestation of us fighting the law. But it is just as well. That's why the law is created, because the law understands people will do wrong. So you have to have a unifying force that tells you this is wrong. When you do it, this is what will happen to you. Why do you think we don't have as many accidents as we could on the road? You are taught how to drive. You are taught traffic rules. When you apply them, minimal accidents. When you don't,
it's a problem.
Huge. People die.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. But before we leave, before we allow you to leave, Michael, maybe just give us the way forward in 20 seconds. What are we looking forward to as far as Vocal Africa is concerned? And then, of course, the truth and justice that we're looking for.
Well, I think I will take this chance to end my stay here with this statement, that when it comes to justice, compensation, because that's what is really being talked about right now. Compensation without prosecution, without accountability, is just blood money. There'll be no justice without people, being taken to court, without closure, and without accountability in the first place. Let us stop trying putting tapes on wounds. Let us try to heal them really
properly,
well, so that these actions don't repeat themselves. Yes, and for us at Vocal Africa, we are about human rights, and we also encourage people to speak whenever there is a violation that is seen, because we cannot be available for everyone.
True.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Michael Kuria. He is Operations and Networking Officer at Vocal Africa.